Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
I got through it in one breath again.
That's great.
What have you been up to? I shun the feigned praise and ask you, what have you been up to?
Oh, showing my feigned praise a corner that it can sit in, I guess.
Yes. Oh dear.
Yeah, that was a sound.
Yeah, I got phlegm through the headphones then. Ugh.
You should clean your ears out, Ben.
Ugh.
Sorry about that.
That was gross.
We want to take that again?
Yes. So, what have you been up to?
So, the reason for my going all that way to buy a packet of photo corners has been revealed.
To the world.
Yeah. I was basically just trying to follow up a gag, essentially.
Good.
I was trying to write a talk for the Association for Computational Heresies Sig Bovik conference.
Where's it being held this year?
As always, it's held at Carnegie Mellon University, where it originates, and where we get Bovik from, because Sig Bovik is the special interest group for Harry Q. Bovik, who is an in-joke among the Carnegie Mellon Computer Science Department, and has been for some decades, I'm told.
So Carnegie Mellon is a prestigious university.
Yes.
In
the United States, in Pittsburgh.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
So you're off to Pittsburgh when this year?
Well, it's already happened.
Oh.
It was held on the 8th. It was the 9th by the time I was viewing it, but...
was your paper presented?
Yes. My talk, my 2.5-minute talk, when they were looking for a median of about 5 minutes, went through. I don't know how the audience reacted, because they're physically in the auditorium. I don't know how they reacted, because the mic was off for all of the pre-recorded presentations, and...
That's shameful.
And for the awarding of the awards at the end.
Oh, so you didn't even get applause if you got an award.
I didn't get an award,
right,
but I don't know how anyone reacted to the awards either.
Did you clap in your room?
I can't recall. Presented at this year's Sig Bovik in person was the 32ESC, which is a Sega 32X with a couple of NVIDIA graphics cards bodged onto it. It has one launch title, and that's Balls 3D.
Right, okay.
Which is absolutely a real product that'll hit the market any day now. And Tom Murphy VII, who has presented at every Sig Bovik to date, all 16 of them so far, presented a series of completely impractical hard drive alternatives, which was a veiled attempt to poke at the inadequacies and failings of the blockchain.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Gee, you've got a gurgly throat today.
I do. I have just had 3 hot dogs, so...
Yes, well...
That happens.
Yeah, let's hope they digest a little better.
Well, you know, we've got 109 minutes of film to...
Oh dear, we do.
To resolve that.
We do.
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I did my blood donation, my plasma donation, my 88th donation yesterday. and met up with dear listener Lee for a really good chat, which was great. It's been a long time since we've managed to coordinate the ships that pass in the night, so that was good. And today I went for another walk. I walked to Eastlands and got a hot off the press copy of Spider-Man, who knows where his home is.
It's not Spider-Man. He doesn't know.
No. Sorry, it's Spider-Man No Way Home. Except I managed to get home with it and a copy of Dune.
Right.
Yes, so which has been out for a little
while. Part 1.
Yes, which has been out for a little while, but I had been waiting for Big W to get another copy of it in, because I wasn't in a huge rush. A semi-large rush, but not a huge rush to get my hands on it. And they were showing as not having any stock. But when I went in to pick up my Spider-Man, there was a copy on the shelf. So I grabbed that. And then walked up to school and got a drive home, which goes to prove that there is a way home.
Right.
Yes. And here I am.
Yep.
My, what a load of nonsense this intro has been. Let's see how many minutes we can cut out of this. Let's get straight into what we're actually here for. We're here to watch a film.
We are.
What are we watching today?
We are watching the adaptation of Clive Cussler's international bestseller, Raise the Titanic. Raise the Titanic.
You mean they named the film Raise the Titanic after the name of the best-selling book, Raise the Titanic?
That is correct.
That's canny.
Yeah.
Didn't pay off. It was a huge flop, as far as I am aware. We are going to find out whether that's justified or not. But before we do so, Thomas, would you tell our dear listener what the plot synopsis is that is inscrawled upon the back of the DVD case? Google?
The worst kind that just sort of
Yep.
sits there waiting to strike.
And it'll strike as soon as you think it's passed.
Yeah, as soon as I start reading the description.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I'll have to start again.
You will.
A search by the American Special Services for a material vital to national security leads to the world's most infamous shipwreck, the Titanic. They believe the mighty, unsinkable ship was carrying a supply of a vital material that could be used to make the United States. The United States. They believed the mighty, unsinkable ship was carrying a supply of a vital material that could be used to make the United States impregnable to atomic attack. The wreck lies too deep for divers to reach, so the only solution is to raise it.
There it is.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And now the phlegm's caught at the top of my throat. Yeah. But the Herculean project must be managed in absolute secrecy. This despite the extreme rigours of the climate, the need to work with previously untested technology, and deadly interference from a rival nation.
A rival nation.
I'm going to take that last phrase again. And deadly interference from a rival nation.
Right. You took that one again, but did you go back far enough the last time after the gurgle?
I'm quite sure it'll be fine.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to read that first sentence in that paragraph again?
No, that's all good. That's fine.
Great.
Yeah, we'll leave it as is. We'll leave it all in.
No more editing.
My scissors are blunt. Right, that is what we're in for. We're going deep into the centre of the earth. No, the wherever the boat is. Anyway, so
the ocean.
So that's Raise the Titanic. Thomas is going to take the film out of its case. He's going to pop it into the machine. We're going to watch this film, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we will catch you on the deep underside.
Turn to deck B. Like, look, where is deck A above or below deck B? Are we looking up or down?
I don't know. I got a sinking feeling about this. You mongrel. So, what did you think?
So, no complaints about the acting.
Right.
Pretty reasonably well acted.
Mm-hmm.
The underwater cinematography and effects, all pretty good. My problems with this film come down to you could not change the script one iota, you could not shoot any additional footage, and still cut half an hour out of it.
Yeah. There's whole segments of it that are completely superfluous to the plot.
I found myself asking several times, what does this shot do that immediately previous shots didn't? And what does holding this shot do that it hasn't already?
Yeah. It's a long film. Even though it's not a particularly long film, it just drags. And therefore, in the dragging bits, it required a soundtrack to go with it. What did you think of the soundtrack?
So, I know it's a John Barry soundtrack. That's not the name on... Okay, good. Okay. So, Jeff Wayne produced some decades back the musical version of The War of the Worlds.
Yep.
And in that musical version, there's plenty of great tracks.
Uh-huh.
But at the start of Act 2, there is a track called Red Weed.
Mm-hmm.
And this soundtrack is Red Weed all the way through. I love the musical version of The War of the Worlds, but I don't love either part of Red Weed.
Uh-huh.
Which is really unfortunate, because in the middle of it, we have The Spirit of Man, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's bookended by Red Weed.
See, whereas for me, it just screams the monotony of the John Barry Black Hole soundtrack. The constant
repetition
there's that
of
too. And
But I have heard John Wayne's musical version of the War. John Wayne's. I have heard Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds more than I have heard the Black Hole soundtrack.
Yeah. That model, at the time of filming, so this is 1980, cost $3 million to build.
It sure did.
It was almost 17 metres long, so 55 feet long, and 12 feet high. So it was huge. At that point, it was the largest model ever built of the Titanic. And it was a very impressive model. There were some shots that, I wish they had not used, that screamed model. And I remember, like I said, I was only 12 years old when I first saw it. And I remember even then thinking, wow, that's oh, no, it's not.
Sometimes you see a shot with some sea foam that clearly looks...
Water is just so difficult with models. They have been very much blessed in the film industry that CGI has finally managed to get water right so that they don't have to use water in models, because it just doesn't scale properly at all. But there were shots where it looked good, but then interspersed with ones that just didn't. But you could see that the detail in the model was such that it had to be huge, and I don't think I had fully comprehended exactly how big. It's the size of a semi-trailer, basically. It's huge, massive. And the detail work in the railing and the rigging and what have you, just absolutely brilliant. But like a lot of the film, there were so many shots that could have well and truly been left on the cutting room floor because it just dragged. And when you think about it, how do you represent the search, the needle in the haystack search, whilst making it interesting? And yes, they attempted by interspersing with calamities and what have you, but it didn't help with the pacing. It actually just made it go longer.
The ship is actually all the way over there. Let us move and begin our search again over there.
Oh, dear. I didn't make a lot of notes, and I'm going to jump around a bit. Daniel, 15-year-old son, sat in again and watched it and made a comment of, it's the Thunderbirds. And yes, there were moments where I realised that, hey, if they had got the crew that did the Thunderbirds in for some of these shots, they would have been doing themselves a favour. It was very Thunderbird-esque in places where model scale was questionable, and depth of field and all of these things that have finally become a lot easier with CGI. And also, even within 10, 15 years after this was made, lens technology for model work was such that depth of field was easier to achieve. But you're still battling against the giveaways of water in scale. I confess that I didn't physically this time, but I remember in the cinema, and this reminded me of how the opening scene with all of the photos of the ship before it sailed, and people on board and the orchestra and things like that. I remember being quite moved. It had always been a thing of marvel and mystery to me growing up, in that it disappeared and nobody knew exactly where it was, but it was this great ship that, there was a family favourite song which is quite macabre, that they built the ship Titanic that sailed the ocean blue, and they thought they had a ship that the water would never go through. But the Lord's almighty hand knew the ship would never land. It was sad when that great ship went down. It went down, it went down. It was sad when that great ship went down, 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 down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. It was sad when that great ship went down. I still remember it after all these years. That's quite bizarre. So it has always been a fascination to me, and to see those photos at the beginning, I remember being very moved by that, knowing that they were all on their way to the bottom of the deep blue sea.
The entire Olympic class was sort of cursed.
Yes.
The Olympic itself had a relatively long career, although it did have a collision with another ship early on. The Britannic was lost in the wars.
Yep.
And the Titanic sank almost immediately.
All it's learnt so far is how to sink.
The Titanic, by the way, split in half.
Yes.
Before it hit the floor of the ocean.
But they didn't know that when this, and certainly other portrayals of the sinking of did not suggest that.
It looked all in one piece as it was going under, and then it split.
Yeah.
This film
was
produced by Lord Great, who produced a number of films over the years.
Did indeed.
With varying amounts of success.
Yes.
Muppet Movie, Great Muppet Caper, Dark Crystal.
Yep.
Quite a few bits of work with Jim Henson, to be honest.
Yep.
This is all well and good. This film was one of his last because it did very poorly.
Very poorly.
7 million against a 40 million budget.
Yeah.
In part due to his brother, Lord Delfont, who 1 year earlier had released a television movie, SOS Titanic.
Oh no. That's nasty. Thanks, bro. Thanks for doing that. The old ants/bugs life. Let's compete and get in before the other. Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, there was something, but I can't remember what exactly that was.
Because I don't think I have anything else either.
No, my brain is meandering, much like this film did. It just could have been so much tighter. And you can probably see why the teenagers in the cinema got restless and started throwing fruit around when this was showing. Whilst I was trying to watch the film, because it was about one of my favourite things. Even though, yes, it was about one of my favourite things, it's not a big favourite movie. It does have big major weaknesses. And how anybody survived burying Mr. Hobart and coming anywhere near his grave, I do not understand that. My understanding is if a Geiger counter goes off the charts, one does not stay in that location for any length of time.
No.
I do not know how any of you are going to get your hands on this, except for second hand on the eBays.
And I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Don't bother.
No. It will still stay on the shelf for nostalgia's sake. I will be interested to hear what Daniel's opinion is after we've finished recording. There were some conversations between he and one of his siblings who said, Byzanium is the friends we make along the way.
Other than those three who died.
Byzanium is the friends that we make along the way and the friends we lose along the way.
That submarine implosion should have felt so tense.
Yeah.
But the film is edited so poorly.
Oh, yeah.
As to spread the tension so thin that it's not there.
Yeah. Anyway, we shall move on.
The following segment is currently on fire. Have a nice day.
Good news from dear listener Helen, who finally able to get out and walk.
Yay, dear listener Helen, who broke her ankle in 5 gazillion places.
And is now walking, and so is able to catch up on the podcast. And
all I can say is, why? Why?
And is currently about 10 weeks behind, so...
Oh, and there's some classics in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Helen, you have such things to look forward to.
We'll see you when you catch up, I guess.
Indeed. Glad to have you back on board. Yes. Is that it?
Yes, that is it.
Yeah.
I have received no other correspondence.
No, neither have I. But that's all right. So we shall move on again to this other bit.
Yep.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
Where it's your turn.
It is my turn. And I don't have any particular ideas. I'm not going back to the well I was considering 2 weeks ago before we ended up doing Beetlejuice, because I think we've got enough of that going on outside as we speak. So
Okay.
I'm just going to shake my iPad and
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
And then you're going to say, okay, so this film was filmed in 1.77 to 1 ratio.
No.
It has a 5.1 soundtrack.
I've got to find... Yes, it does.
It was released by Zuzu Pictures.
No.
Sony Pictures.
No.
Paramount Pictures.
No.
It was released by Disney. Buena Vista. All right.
All right. Now you've set me on looking at who distributed it. This is your own fault.
It is my own fault.
Yeah.
Good. So all I know for sure is that it has a 5.1 soundtrack, which is 4.1 more than the film that we just watched.
Yeah, it sure is. This film's from 2001.
That's an odyssey.
No, it's not 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've already done that.
We have indeed, yes.
I would
2001, okay.
I would consider the IMDb rating that's listed underneath the title to be far too low. Let's see here.
Okay, it's got a questionably low rating.
Mm-hmm.
2001, 5.1. Okay.
It includes the talents of Alan Cumming and Tony Shalhoub.
Those names, I'm not even looking you in the eye, and I'm getting the vibe that those are names that I should really be jumping at, and I've got nothing.
Okay. It was distributed by Dimension Films and produced by Troublemaker Studios.
Oh, is this that film that was produced by Troublemaker Studios?
Troublemaker Studios is the toy box of one Robert Rodriguez.
We're watching Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
That is a little too recent.
You're right. We're watching Spy Kids.
We are watching Spy
Are you
Kids.
serious?
I am serious.
Wow. Wow. And on that bombshell, no, fair enough. I threw Raise the Titanic at you.
Yeah.
So you can throw Spy Kids at me, which I confess I have not seen for a very long time, but my recollection is that I have a bit of a soft spot for it. Mm-hmm. That I don't have for Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
No.
But I do have for this.
If you've seen a Robert Rodriguez film, this is one of them.
It is. Please tell our dear listeners, who are also as shell-shocked as I am, the plot synopsis for Spy Kids.
Like most kids, 12-year-old Carmen Cortez and her annoying little brother Junie think their parents are the most boring people in the world, but they've just discovered a most amazing secret about their parents. They're spies. But they're not cool enough to be spies. And so an adventure like no other begins. Back in the spy game after a 10-year retirement, the parents have just left on their first mission to save the world from the evil forces of techno-wizard Fagin Floop? I didn't know he had a first name. Huh. And I can't check if that's spelled correctly because the back cover isn't scanned. And his plan to invade the world with mini robotic children. But Mum and Dad are a bit rusty and are soon kidnapped by Floop and locked up in his transmogrifying castle. Who can save them? Well, just a couple of ordinary, bickering brother and sister spy kids who'll do anything to get their parents back. Even if they do think they're boring.
My flabber is so gasted. We're watching Spy Kids next week.
We are.
We hope that you can join us next week when we do so. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye. You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production. Testing.
Large intestine?
Small intestine.
I was just thinking with this microphone, it had a slight tilt to it. Does that mean that if anyone's listening to this podcast with headphones on, they tilt their head?
Is this podcast produced in stereo?
No, it's not.
No, then probably
well,
not.
Actually,
then.
no, that's not true. If there's any music that's in stereo, it will be in stereo.
Yeah. I did not produce any of the music for this podcast with the mic tilted in one or another direction.
Good. I thought you were going to say I didn't produce any of the music for this podcast in stereo.
Well, I didn't produce it in stereo either.
I seem to recall there was some echo that expanded the